All right, so let's talk about setting up the ultimate workstation for technical writing. We're not just talking about getting the job done, but really like boosting productivity, maybe sparking a little creativity. And lucky for us, Curt Robbins, he's a senior technical writer, has some really strong opinions about this stuff.
Yeah, and this isn't just, theoretical stuff. Robbins has actually worked with some pretty big names.
hmm
Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Wells Fargo. Like, he's been there, done that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So first up, he talks about something he calls elevator desks. I love that term.
Me too?
But you probably know them as standing desks, right?
Yeah, standing desks, but I think elevator desks is a way better name because it really gets at like that smooth transition between sitting and standing.
Right.
And the models he recommends, they have like dual motors, so it's seamless.
Yeah, and especially as technical writers, we're often just stuck at our screens for hours on end.
Yeah.
So being able to switch positions throughout the day, I feel like that could be a real game changer.
Oh, absolutely. For your health, for focus, all of that. And Robbins even points out that technical writing, it's a competitive field. So anything that gives you an edge,
Oh, yeah,
like better focus, more energy, it's going to help you stand out.
totally. And I mean, let's be honest, standing desks, they can really help with those aches and pains that come with sitting for too long.
Absolutely.
And you can even like program those preset heights so you're not constantly fiddling with adjustments and losing your flow.
Right, exactly.
He mentions specific brands like Uplift Desk and Veridesk. So, he's not just talking hypothetically. He's actually using this stuff.
Exactly. He's giving you practical advice.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, now let's talk about something that can really like level up your productivity. And
Mm.
that's dual monitors.
Yes.
And the best part is you don't have to spend a fortune to get a good setup.
Right.
Robin says you can find a large 4K monitor these days for under $300.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I know. But okay, why dual monitors? Like we already have laptops, tablets, phones. Why do we need another screen?
Well, think about it this way. Your brain can only handle so much at once. When
Hmm.
you're constantly switching between tabs and windows, it creates this thing called cognitive load.
Okay.
And that can be mentally exhausting, just like draining. Dual monitors give you that extra screen space so you can spread out, reduce that mental juggling act.
Oh, I see. So it's like decluttering your mental workspace.
Exactly.
I like that. So you could have like a dedicated screen just for research and then your writing space stays clean and uncluttered.
Exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you could have all your reference materials, outlines, even coding windows open alongside your main document
Yep.
without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Streamlines your workflow, helps you stay focused. And speaking of staying focused, Robbins is all about those wireless peripherals.
Ah, yes. Wireless keyboard, mouse, headphones.
Yep.
Who doesn't love a clutter-free workspace?
Yeah.
And then with a standing desk, you have even more freedom to move around.
Right, you've got that freedom, but Robbins brings up a really good point, and that's battery life.
Oh, yeah, true.
All that wireless freedom, got to keep things charged up.
Right.
He recommends making overnight charging part of your routine.
Makes total sense. Can you imagine, like, you're in the middle of this intense writing session, and boom, your wireless mouse dies?
Oh, the worst.
Not good.
And different devices have different battery lives, too. So,
Mhm.
a wireless mouse, that might last weeks, but noise-canceling headphones, you might have to charge those every day.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just got to know your devices and plan ahead.
Right? And actually, speaking of headphones, Robbins specifically recommends them for staying focused,
Mm.
especially if, you work in a noisy environment or you share your workspace.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like creating your own little productivity bubble.
Yeah. And think about it. With the standing desk, that wireless keyboard and mouse, you can easily adjust your position throughout the day. No wires holding you back.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
But with all this talk about gadgets and setups, Robbins reminds us that the most important element is you.
Right.
He has this whole section on common workstation mistakes. And one of the biggest ones is trying to copy someone else's setup without considering your own needs.
Yeah.
He's really big on ergonomics being personal.
Okay.
What works for one person might be totally uncomfortable for another, so don't just blindly follow trends. Take the time to figure out what actually works for you.
I like that. And one that he calls a cardinal sin.
Oh,
Poor cable management.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that tangled mess under your desk. Not only is it visually unappealing, but it can actually be a safety hazard.
Yeah, think about it. Tripping over cables during a client presentation?
Oh, gosh.
Not a good look.
Not a good look.
So yeah, clean up those cables.
Yeah, it's such a simple step.
Yeah.
It can make a big difference. But okay, now for the fun part.
Okay, yeah.
Robbins also suggests adding some personal touches. like plants,
Oh, yeah.
artwork,
Yes.
to boost your mood, your productivity.
It's all about creating an environment that inspires you or reflects your personality.
Right, like a little greenery can just totally brighten up your day.
Absolutely.
Maybe even spark some creativity.
For sure.
So I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. Standing desks, dual monitors, wireless peripherals, ergonomics.
A lot to think about.
But remember, this is just the beginning.
Exactly.
Like building the ultimate workstation, it's a journey.
It is.
And Robbins encourages us to experiment and fine-tune our setups over time.
Right, because what works best for you might evolve,
Mhm.
Your work style changes, your needs change.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and your workspace should change too.
So it's not about finding that, like, perfect setup, but more about creating a workspace that's uniquely yours and helps you do your best work.
Exactly, yeah. It's really like he's saying, make your workspace a place where you can actually thrive. You're going to be spending a lot of time there.
That's so true.
And that means paying attention to, not just your desk and chair, but things like lighting,
Oh, yeah.
air quality, temperature, like a comfortable environment. It can really make a difference in your mood and productivity.
Oh, absolutely. I know. Like, if I'm battling a glare on my screen or I'm freezing, I'm not focused.
Right, exactly. It's about creating a space that works with you,
Yeah,
not against you.
totally.
Yeah.
And, all those adjustable setups we talked about, it's not just about finding that perfect position once and then, like, forgetting about it.
Right, you actually have to use the standing desk to stand.
You mean I can't just, like, buy it and then leave it in sitting position all the time?
Well, you could, but you're not getting the full benefit. Robbins emphasizes that ergonomics, it's dynamic.
Okay, yeah.
What feels good in the morning might not feel the same way, after a few hours of work.
That's-
So don't be afraid to adjust your chair, your desk, your monitor arm, whatever you need to do to stay comfortable.
Yeah. Right.
And even just take a few minutes to stretch or walk around.
Right.
It's about listening to your body and making those small adjustments so you can prevent bigger problems down the road. And one thing I think is really important that Robbins brings up, creating the ultimate workstation. It's not a one-time thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a process,
Yeah.
It's continuous improvement.
So it's like, okay, I've got my standing desk, my dual monitors, my wireless setup. Now what?
Now you experiment. You pay attention to what's working, what's not working. Maybe you find you prefer a different keyboard or that a certain type of lighting makes you feel more alert.
Oh, okay.
And maybe you realize, hey, a standing desk just isn't for me.
Right.
Or maybe you discover that having a dedicated space for brainstorming away from your computer, that's what really gets your creativity flowing. The point is, there's no one right answer.
I see.
It's about finding what works best for you. And that might change over time. Your work style evolves, your needs evolve, and your workspace should evolve too.
Oh, that's a good point.
So don't be afraid to tweak things, try new things, keep refining your setup.
Got it.
It's about making your workspace a reflection of you and how you work best. So big takeaway for our listeners here.
Yeah. What should they be thinking about?
I think Robbins has given us this roadmap for creating workspaces that not only support our productivity, but also our well-being.
Right.
It's about investing in yourself and in your craft.
Yeah, like that.
And it's remembering that, it's an ongoing journey. Your ideal workspace, it's not something you achieve overnight. It's something you cultivate over time.
Oh, that's a good point.
And that's pretty exciting, right? Like you're always learning, you're always growing, always striving to create the best possible environment for your work. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final thought from Robbins.
Well, yeah.
It's a little quirky, but it gets at what we're talking about. He says, and I quote, "Cable management is a cardinal sin among IT professionals." Now, on the surface, that might seem like he's just, making fun of messy desks.
Right.
But I think there's a deeper meaning there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about attention to detail, taking pride in your work, even in those little things.
Right, like a well-managed workspace, it reflects a well-managed mind.
I like that.
And that is valuable in any field, but especially in the world of technical writing.
Absolutely. It shows that you care about the quality of your work,
Yeah.
from the big picture down to those smallest details.
Exactly. And that can make a big difference in how your work is perceived by others.
Totally.
So go forth and conquer those cables.
Yes.
And while you're at it, think about all the other ways you can optimize your workspace to support your success. Remember, it's not about, achieving some picture-perfect ideal. It's about creating an environment that works for you, that helps you thrive, and allows you to do your best work.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. It's about understanding the principles,
Right.
right, and then applying them in a way that makes sense for you.
Exactly. Yeah. You see those like picture perfect workspaces online, and it's easy to think, oh, I need that fancy chair, or
Yeah.
I got to have a triple monitor setup.
Right.
But honestly, the best workspace is the one that works for you.
Totally.
Maybe a standing desk is just like not your thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe you actually prefer one like ultra wide monitor instead of two screens.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe you realize that having a dedicated space for brainstorming, away from the computer, that's what really unlocks
I
things.
like that. Yeah.
The key is like experiment.
Uh-huh.
Find what helps you get into that flow state where the words just come pouring out.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it brings us back to what Robbins was saying about personalization.
Right.
Think critically about your own needs,
Yeah.
your preferences. Create a workspace that reflects who you are as a technical writer.
It's almost like making it an extension of your creative process.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's a final thought as you kind of go on this journey.
Okay.
How can you use your workspace not just to be more productive, but to like nurture your well-being?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about the physical setup like the ergonomics. It's also about the mental and emotional.
Right, exactly. Think about, natural light,
Yeah.
plants, calming colors, maybe even a diffuser.
Ooh, I like that.
It's about creating a space that just feels good to be in.
Right.
A space that like reduces stress, promotes calm and focus.
Makes sense because at the end of the day, when you feel good, you work well.
Exactly.
And then when you work well, you create amazing things.
Exactly. So go build workspaces that inspire you, energize you, and help you, unleash your full potential.
I love it. Well, until next time, happy writing, everyone.